Sandy, do we know what like on the training computers the passwords are?
It's a nice thing. You could start. There you go. I think Mark needs it too, right?
No, that was.
Time is 6:03. We're calling tonight's meeting of the Providence School to order. Can we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
George Matu,
Present.
Tony Aiken,
Present.
Mark Santow,
Present.
Erlen Rojo,
Here.
Travis Escobar, Tyrell Stevens,
Here.
Najee Moyen Gabo.
Here.
You have a quorum. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to Superintendent's comments.
Thank you. So good evening, everyone. We're excited to report that over the last week, we've had 9 high school graduation with over 1,000 students crossing the stage and receiving their diploma. So let's give those students a big round of applause. Last week, we also launched our summer reading initiatives where we have already distributed over, listen to this number, 90,000 age-appropriate books for all pre-K to 5th grade students. We also had Clifford the Big Red Dog join us in celebrating over at Asa Mesa Elementary, so that's a big accomplishment. Our CTE students who signed contracts with the local industry partners at the CTE signing night last week, 14 companies from around the state represented, and over 80 students signed contracts to start working right after graduation. So that's also a big accomplishment. But I would like to take this moment to recognize a few individuals, their commitment and dedication to the Providence Public Schools and our students. Let us put our hands together for 2 individuals from the Parent Advisory Council. We have Elaine Fababudish and Tomoko Shubusaba. So if they're here, please stand. Please come to the front. Elaine, Tomoko, please come to the front.
Where do you want us, Superintendent?
Right there.
Okay.
Thank you both so much.
And I want to publicly apologize for the last names.
Right, it's a mouthful. Thank you.
Big round of applause. Glasses, skinny side, please. Thank you. Another big round of applause, please. I would also like to take a moment to recognize one of our leaders, Patricia Royal, who is leaving us to become the superintendent of the Pawtucket Public Schools. So let's give Patricia a applause. Patricia came to the district in July 2019 as an elementary transformation officer. She worked her way up to Assistant Superintendent of Elementary Education in July 2022. She has helped develop policies, regulations, led teams of great principals and assistant principals, develop process for coaching our leaders, and implementing changes to improving instruction and student outcome. So I want to say thank you to Patricia Royale. Big round of applause. Can't wait to see the big things that she's going to be doing in Pawtucket. And just a quick side note, we've had several of our members who have left to become superintendent in surrounding districts. So that's a testament to the work that we're also doing here. Sometimes we hear the negative side of things, but I think we have an awesome team. No, I know we have an awesome team, and we continue to develop individuals, and this is what happens. They come to Providence, and next thing you know, they're leading their own district. So that's a testament to the great team that we have. So I give my team a big round of applause. Now I want to have a little quick discussion about how the topic is shaping Providence Public Schools in the future. We continue to work on meeting the goals of the Community Turnaround Action Plan, plans that developed for the 21st centuries, learning spaces, and making sure that we're creating the spaces that our teachers and students deserve. Just today, we hosted a ribbon cutting at Hope High School auditorium, where students and communities will be able to showcase their talent. We invested almost $20 million at Hope, but we're going to be opening 3 new or like new schools. That's the Bay Elementary, Spaziano Elementary, and Narducci Learning Center. So that's another big accomplishment. This investment is part of a more than $500 million facility plan, which will increase the percent of students learning in high quality spaces from 5% to 50%. That's another big accomplishment. In alignment with the efficient system TAP pillars, we have also been working towards performance-based contracts. For far too long, we have not been holding individuals accountable for the work that we're doing. So we're holding partners, we're holding parents, we're holding students, we're holding teachers, we're holding ourselves to higher standards and making sure that we're doing the work that our district and our students deserve. Our standards and expectation have gotten higher, and we will stand by the highest standards for all our students because they deserve it. We're holding our teachers, once again, we're holding our teachers accountable, as we stated. We're holding partners, contractors accountable, and we're also holding ourselves accountable. So let me be clear. No one should be okay with our kids learning in classrooms that have not received the upkeep that they deserve. School maintenance concerns have been well documented for decades. As students, parents, teachers' voices have been heard. And I have been here in Providence for over 25 years, and I've always heard some kind of complaints about the cleanliness. So we're going to continue to work on high standards and what we're expecting from all of us to make sure that once again, at the end of the day, it's about our students and what they deserve. So we're going to continue to work towards performance-based contracts. I also would like to, I cannot afford, we cannot afford to keep kicking the can down the road any longer. We cannot afford to making sure that 20 years from now, leaders as ourselves who are here are still hearing and talking about the same problems that we've had for 30 years and 20 years from now, which is the cleanliness, which is the safety, which is the buildings themselves. So we need to make sure that we're holding each other accountable for the work that we're doing and making sure that our students receive what they deserve. So with that, I want to say thank you for the opportunity to be here, and I'll turn it over to our president.
Thank you, Superintendent, for your comments. Before we approve the agenda, there's a couple of changes, a couple of house cleaning items that we'd like to do. First, in collaboration with the superintendent, we have decided to continue item 9.3. It's a presentation on acceleration, breakthrough results. Do I have a motion?
Motion.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. We will continue the presentation on acceleration and breakthrough results. Next, the other house cleaning item we have is Per the request of Chairman Ibiemi, who's not here today, he had requested that contracts be pulled out of the consent agenda for group or individual consideration. There's one item that we'd like to pull out of that group. Do I have a motion to pull 8.19, the facilities contract, out of that report on contracts?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second? So we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
8.19, facilities contract will be a standalone item when we get to it. Thank you, board. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
Second.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The motion carries. Next, consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Motion's been made. Do I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
The ayes have it. The motion carries. Next item on our agenda is public comment. First on our list is Melissa Hughes.
Is this on now? Yes. Good evening, members of the school board, and thank you for welcoming public comment this evening. My name is Melissa Hughes. I'm a proud parent of 2 Providence School students. I also serve on the Parent Advisory Council leadership with the fine women that you saw up here earlier who are leading us, as well as some other friends in the back row today. I'm a parent representative on the school building committee, and I'm a leader with Parents Leading for Educational Equity, known as PLEAD. I'm here tonight to help celebrate the accomplishments of all parent leaders in our district, not just the ones that are here before you tonight, but the many parents that are putting in hard work every week, all year long, across our district in every school. Parents are showing up to volunteer, they're asking questions, they're serving on committees, and they're just showing up and trying to collaborate to make things better for all of our kids. Together on the Parent Advisory Council leadership team, we partner with PPSD and the leaders in the FACE office to convene parents from all across the district from every single grade level. And all of those parents who come to represent their schools in that setting try to work as collaboratively as possible with the district to try to raise issues of concern and actually work on problem solving and brainstorming solutions whenever possible. I'm really, really proud of the work that all of the parents do in that space, and we're really grateful to the FACE team for the efforts they put in to help convene us in that space and help elevate the concerns that we have to Superintendent Montañez and his team, who also join us and meet with us regularly. Our schools succeed when family voice and our on-the-ground experience is centered in every single decision that's made and every single policy, process, procedure that you're looking at. I've also had the good fortune, because of my time on the PAC leadership team, to join that school building committee. And I just want to echo some of the comments that Superintendent Montañez shared earlier. We are making some incredible progress, finally in our district, to finally make changes and give kids the buildings and teachers the buildings that they deserve to learn and work in. I also attended today's Hope High School ribbon cutting, and that auditorium is amazing. Friends, if you have an opportunity to go into that space, you are going to be blown away. I was so moved by your school board president's comments today at that event. And if you don't mind, I'm going to share a little bit of what you said. He shared that as a student in Providence schools for many years, he knew what it was like to be in spaces with crumbling, uncared for, neglected facilities, and what that did for him as a person that he internalized that maybe he didn't realize until he went into other spaces. And when he succeeded in our schools, he arrived at college, which is a tremendous accomplishment, but wondered maybe, did he deserve those beautiful spaces in college? Because no one had ever shown that to him before. And so thank you, school board president, for sharing that personal story in that space. And I wanted to elevate that because I think it's so important that we remember that the buildings, the facilities, the conditions that they're in, that says something without words to our families, to our staff. Tonight you have before you this facilities contract, and I know that folks in the facilities department and in PPSD have spent an incredible amount of time in the RFP process. I was able to be part of a meeting recently through the school building committee where I heard about that lengthy process and had the opportunity to hear further details and questions from the consulting company that worked with the team. Sorry, I know I'm going a little over, I'm almost done. But I want to make sure that that you hear from somebody on the ground. I don't have expertise in those areas, but I do have expertise being a parent in these schools and talking with other parents and families from across the district. Taking care of our facilities once we fix them is just as important as making new ones. So please handle this issue with care and sensitivity and know that we can do better for our families and our staff. And I urge you to put this contract forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hughes. Next on our list, Mary Ellen Raposa. Welcome, Ms. Raposa. You have about 3 minutes to offer public comment. Thank you.
My name is Mary Ellen Raposa, and I'm an ESL teacher and union delegate at Central High School. I come before you today to discuss the unsafe conditions at Central. In November, our principal was stabbed by a student who had been assaulted by 4 other students in school. During this chaotic time, a lockdown was not called. Despite that, lockdowns are to be initiated in incidents that may result in harm to persons inside the school. We were told there was no need for a lockdown. However, if a student running down the hallway wielding a knife is not dangerous enough for a lockdown, then what is? After that incident, the administrative team held assemblies for all students, which included mixed messages, such as they could no longer wear ski masks in school. They had to attend at least 4 out of 6 classes daily. And although marijuana was legal, they had to smoke it outside. After such a serious incident, it seemed that they were trying to appease the students instead of addressing the severity of the situation. As a result, the staff filed a safety grievance in December. Shortly thereafter, yet another stabbing occurred at Central among students. In March, the Nashville shootings occurred, and on the day of our grievance hearing, Dr. Montanez sent an email stating, "Student and staff safety is our #1 priority." The irony of this was not lost on us. At our hearing with Herman James, 5 teachers read statements about the lack of safety and level of disorder at our school. Some concerns included the 10 external doors with no alarms that are opened by students throughout the day. Anyone can enter the building at any time. The ski masks and cannot be identified even with camera footage. The drug use at Central is rampant. All floors smell of marijuana throughout the day, causing students to cover their noses and mouths. Vaping is also rampant and done in plain view without any consequences. According to RIDE, all schools in Rhode Island are drug-free schools. We received a response to our grievance from Herman James on May 22nd, which included minimal actions. The message we understood from the district was, we do not prioritize school safety. We followed up with Mr. James on June 10th and have not yet heard from him. In 6 months, the situation has not improved. Part of Mrs. James's resolution included the addition of several staff members, including behavior interventionists, which has not helped at all. We do not need more people. What we need is people who are responsible for safety and discipline to actually ensure safety and discipline for students. It doesn't matter how many people you send. If the district and administrative team do not prioritize safety, Central will remain unsafe and vulnerable. If you care about the students of Providence, their safety, and their education, which I believe is why you are all here, then I urge you to demand school safety measures for Central High School and every school in Providence. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Reposa. I just want to make sure, next on our list is a crossed-out name, but I'm not sure if that was meant to be so. We have Frank McMahon. Thank you. Next on our list is former school board president, Nicholas Heeman. Welcome back. Mr. Oliveri, you'd like to come up with him? Former school board president, Keith Olivera. It's like a Mount Rushmore over there.
You say we're old?
It's more like a cardboard than Mount Rushmore. Mr. President, members of the board, thank you. My name is Nick Heeman, and I have the honor of serving on this board with many of you for 11 years, 5 years as chair of the board. Much nicer view from right here than it is from your seat, Mr. President. But Mr. Oliveira and I wanted to come here today because Bertie told us that Mark Santow would be retiring from his position on the school board after tonight's meeting. And while he may have tried to keep that somewhat quiet, we were happy to not allow him to do that because certainly his honorable, distinguished, and dedicated service is something that should be recognized accordingly. To build on what was just said, when Ms. Reposa was speaking, she says, I believe that's why you're all here, that you care. And I know that's why you're all here. I served with Dr. Santow for probably 7 of the 8 years that he was on this board. And every day that we worked together, I appreciated the level of professionalism, the open mind in a time when so many people are just so fixed in the way they see the world. Mark and I might not agree on 90% of things, but we were always able to collaborate and come together for what was right, what we believed was right for students in Providence. When I stepped down off this board, the part that I knew I would miss the most was the collaboration with everybody on the board. I'm a high conflict person. I'm not easy to get along with, but in the 11 years that I served on this board, we never had a cross moment. We never had disagreements. We had disagreements, but we never became disagreeable. And Dr. Santow brought a level of measured reasonableness that I thought were very useful to the board in some very turbulent times. And we all served in very, very turbulent times, from one crisis to the next. And we were able to get through that better than we got into the crisis because of Dr. Santow and his work. So I don't know a person who was more dedicated to this board and the good things about this school district than Mark Santow during the time that he has served. He has my respect, my gratitude, and I think I speak for everybody who's ever served with him and the people who've had the pleasure to know him. And I know he'll find another way to keep us all on task and keep things moving forward in Providence. So thank you, Mark, and that's why I wanted to come here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Superintendent. I too want to come as a former colleague on this board with both Nick and Mark Santow, just to thank you and congratulate you for your service. I think you're the sole remaining member of the school board since I served on the school board, so it's going to show you how long you've served on this board. I've always known you to be that voice of equity on this board. And I am reminded of when we first introduced the Males of Color Initiative back in 2015, was it? 2015. And it accompanied racial equity policy. And I stepped down from the board prior to that policy actually making it the way through, but it did pass after I stepped down from the board, and I think in large part due to your advocacy, and the voice of equity. So I want to thank you for that and for your service, because it's part of your legacy on this board as well. You are now welcome to become a member of the Providence School Board Alumni Association. Please see Nick Heeman for your membership information. First order of business is drinks around you. Thank you again, Mark. Really appreciate your service, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, President Seaman and Olivera. Next on our list is Tom Martin. Welcome.
Thank you.
3 minutes-ish. Thank you.
Yes. Good evening, members of the Providence Public School Board and community. My name is Tom Martin, and I'm a Senior Vice President at ABM Industries. We are excited to be considered for the Facilities Services contract. We work with over 400 K-12 schools and 200 higher education accounts throughout the United States. And someone who has been in New England his whole life, this is a privilege to have the opportunity to work with the Providence schools. We're looking forward to working with the public school staff, the current employees, the union to support the educational mission of Providence. At ABM Industries, we are committed to excellence in facility services. Our team has resources bringing a wealth of excellence in facilities operations and innovation. I myself started as a building engineer, so the biggest thing I feel we create is opportunities for our staff. We're looking forward to working with the existing staff if we're awarded the contract. It's critical to me that we provide the training and the service level and the excellence that the schools deserve and the educational learning environment that we can be part of. We look forward to gaining the valuable insight of the existing team and areas where we can help them make a difference so we can make a difference. We understand the significance of this partnership and hope to play a major role in the coming years in your turnaround action plan already in process. We just hope we can be that partner to help with it. Thank you. I really appreciate the time that you've offered us to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martin. Next on our list, Scott Flynn.
I'm gonna be real quick. I'm counsel for ABM. I put my name on the list in case there was anything that came up that was necessary to answer any questions for the board. So I will not be giving a long-winded comment, just I'm here if you had any questions, but I see nobody else spoke about the matter, so I assume that.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn. Yeah, this isn't like a exchange, but I appreciate you being here.
Have a good night.
No further names are on our public comment list. Next item on our agenda, school board member comments. Opening up the floor to any school board members. Any comments tonight? Chairman, Dr. Santo, would you like to go first? Was that what was being motioned here?
Sure. First of all, Keith and Nick, thanks. It's good to see your faces. Thanks for coming and for your kind words as well. You know, there's the saying, "Old soldiers never die; they just fade away." That was sort of the move I was attempting to make by not publicizing it much, but that I was leaving. You know, I've communicated to my colleagues here about my intentions to depart the board. I was first appointed to the board shortly after Mayor Alorza was first elected. So my term began in February, I believe it was, of 2015. About 5 minutes before my board colleague Dean, who now takes on the mantle of senior member of the school board. Unfortunately, he's not here tonight. And there's a mix of you know, kind of push and pull factors, if you like, for why I'm leaving the board. You know, in a way, I don't really want to talk much about the push factors tonight, so I won't. The primary reason why I'm leaving the board is I want to spend more time with my family. You know, and many of you can identify with this if you're anywhere near my age. The generations on either side of you, you know, the time one has with them suddenly becomes very short. And I want to take all the time that I can to spend with my kids and to spend with my parents, my wife's mom, and so forth. And maybe just to myself as well. You know, this work is hard. It's rewarding, but it's hard. You know, there have been frustrations on my part with regard to the takeover. I was opposed to the takeover when it came up. I haven't really moved off of that position. happy to tell you all about that some other occasion. I've been frustrated a bit by some of the lack of transparency that I think the takeover has involved. At times, our own internal process as a board has been a little bit frustrating. This work is intrinsically hard because of racial and economic segregation, concentrated child poverty, the way we fund public education, running urban public school systems that are equitable and effective has always felt like running up a down escalator. Maybe the escalator just felt like it's gotten faster, and I know I've gotten slower. So, so that's been a little bit frustrating. But I leave on the note of great hope and optimism for several reasons. One is that I'm incredibly encouraged by the energy and the wisdom and commitment of all of our new school board members. And I have every confidence in our new leadership team to lead the district forward. My fellow school board veterans, Dean Tyrell, Travis, and Knight Jean, bring tremendous wisdom, passion, and commitment to this work. We have different experiences, skills, and temperaments. We may not always agree on goals or on how to pursue them, but I do think we're stronger because of those differences, and I think the board has all the tools it needs right here. And someone else will need to see soon that it needs to lead and to hold RIDE and PPSD accountable, ensure that people of Providence have a voice as we bring the schools back under the control of the citizens of this city. I do leave feeling like there's some unfinished business for myself as well as for the district, but I'm at peace with leaving the schools and my son's education in the hands of the people in this room and the people in this building. And that's probably what matters most of all. I am, in the end, a teacher. I'm a parent on a lot of things, but in a public sense, I'm a teacher. That's what I care most about. I believe deeply in public education. That hasn't changed, it's deepened in the 8 years I've been on the board. I believe in the Providence public schools. My family believes in the Providence public schools. I believe in the teachers of this district and the educators of this district. I believe that good workplaces are also good places to learn. It's very exciting having time as a teacher, and I think we have to keep that in mind. One thing I'll say, and I've said this through email to my board colleagues, one bit of unfinished business for me. Tonight we are hopefully going to pass the racial equity policy that Keith helped to start a long time ago, and a revised version of it is going to pass tonight. To me, that policy implies a complete rewriting of our code of conduct in the direction of restorative justice, to break the school to prison pipeline, to fundamentally change the culture of this school system in this city. We have control over that. We don't necessarily need resources to do that. We don't need permission to do that. That's something we can do that can change the lives of the people of this city. So I'm on board to help in any way I can from the outside. I go there, but not here. It's been an incredible honor serving with all of you. Some of you, it's just been a minute, and I regret that it won't be more than that. And I see a lot of familiar faces out there, people taking time away from their family to be here for these meetings. I appreciate you. I have enormous respect for what you do. And I wish you the best of luck. Thank you.
Any further comments from school board members tonight? Chairman Mahingo.
Dr. Santo, I want to thank you for everything you have done in the district, and thank you for always supporting students, parents, especially PPSD staff. And I want also to thank you on your leadership here on the board. I have two comments for tonight. Earlier last year, we learned that the district tried to close, came out with a decision to close school quietly. And I think that the board should work together to come up with a public statement because parents deserve answers and we need some sense of transparency in our communities. The next thing I want to address is the anonymous letter that we received last year. We asked for the district to do an investigation, an independent investigations, and they told us here on record that the district was doing an HR investigation worldwide. And I learned this week that it was a lie. The district never did an investigation on John Jackson. I think that we're setting a very bad precedent because I just feel like teachers won't feel safe even to come up here as trying to say what is wrong in their schools. So I think that I'm afraid that teachers won't be allowed to express themselves freely without being scared that they will be fired. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you, Chairman Mahingabo. Any other comments tonight?
Good evening, everyone.
Mr. Stevens?
Glad to be here on today. I definitely know that it is Dr. Santal's last day. I know you shared and said it hasn't been easy. I know I definitely made it not easy myself. So I do want to definitely acknowledge you, Mark. I have a lot of respect for you because, you know, I have a strong personality, which I know. And I don't always say the right things, which I know. And one of the main things that I was saying to myself when I was sort of thinking about it, I said, not once did Mr. Santal ever disrespect me, not once. You've always was civil, always had a conversation. And if I ever said anything, you've seen me apologize that you may have not liked, but we was always able to sort of move forward and move past it. And what happens is a lot of people take things personal. And, you know, a lot of this work is sort of, when you get into work like this kind of work, you can't take personal because it's public work. You're dealing with people. You're on a board with 9 different members. And I thank God that I don't take things personal myself. I would get angry and upset at times, and I may need to step away from different matters. But at the end of the day, we got to move the work forward. It's not about us. It's not about our feelings. It's about the students and families. And that's something that I've seen that you've always done, always made it about the families and the students of Providence. Not once can I ever say you've made a decision or said something that affected students and families. And I truly appreciate that because that's what I'm here for. So I really want to thank you, Dr. Santal, for all you've done in this district, the times that you've served on here, a lot of the things that I take from you and learn from you. I took a lot from you and learned from you and looked from a sort of distance, but I do appreciate all of the work that you've done in this district, Dr. Santal, so thank you. I got a couple comments I want to say. I first want to thank the board, superintendent, teachers, administrators, families, staff, and students for an amazing school year this year. Friday will be the last day. I know it hasn't been easy. No, it's not, but I truly am thankful for all of you. I know, like I said, I haven't made your job easy as well, but hey, this is what we're here for. I would like to also thank the PPSD administrators and staff for amazing graduations and step-up ceremonies for elementary, middle, and high schools. A special shout out to the Office of FACE and Patricia LaSalle for preparing and managing all of the graduations. I truly wanted to definitely thank all of you. Definitely special shout out to FACE and Patricia for definitely managing those graduations and making it special for the students and families. You see, this is sloppy, Travis, so don't look over here. I'm sloppy around myself. Okay, I also want to congratulate Patricia Royale. I think today was her last day. Truly am excited that we have yet another staff member in the district becoming a superintendent. I think that that's definitely important. A woman of color isn't going too far in Pawtucket. First woman of color to be a superintendent, and I believe Rhode Island, which is definitely a plus and something that I am definitely appreciative of. And I truly want to congratulate her. I wish the camera was on me so I can send it to her, but it's all right. It's okay. It's okay, Sandy. It's okay. But I truly am thankful that she has gotten a new role in this district, and I hope that some more of our top officials get some of those opportunities as well. But I'm definitely grateful for that. I also wanted to just share really quick. I had a meeting with the superintendent about the tweet that I sent out, the email, and I know some people had some questions around it. I made it very clear to the superintendent and his team on Friday that him and his position, we know we shouldn't be going back, and me too. I take accountability. We definitely shouldn't be going back and forth and doing things like that. So I definitely shared it. I was there with a couple community members. We was able to get all of that squared away. I did want to, in fact, share something just about applying for roles. I just wanted to share that according to the Johns Hopkins report on page 8, a challenge that emerges consistently is racial equity and is a low priority. We heard from district leaders, state and school staff, and from community partners that the system, adequately addresses at times, avoids the address as it pertains to racial equity. The current student body is comprised with close to 30% of MLL students. Some 87% of the students are at a disadvantage. 65% of the students are Latino. I would say I am not sort of scared to definitely have those conversations. It is important to me. I believe, and I have to be honest, there's 5 new principal appointments that's currently sort of have to be filled. I cross paths with Black, Latino candidates all the time that said that they are sort of looking to get into the district, be principals in the district. But a lot of them don't get interviews. I talked to some people after that about that. This school year, say that again. I know, I'm sorry. I don't see it in the bylaws that we have a time limit. All right. This school year, 28 principals were white, 7 were Black, and 4 principals were Latino. I really want to be able to sort of see that number go up as it pertains to principals of color. We have a district that is majority students of color, so I want to see more administrators of color in that role. I want to definitely make sure that that is the case. And then also I want to let it be known that, in our advisory capacity as a school board member, I am recommending that Dr. Onye, who is the Chief of Equity and Belonging, should be a part of any discussions, team panels, hiring panels that may go on in this district. I think that's another reason why the number is so high of individual staff members that are sort of Caucasian in principal and high-level roles. She should take part in those interviews, in those decision-makings and process. She is the Chief of Equity. And I spoke with the superintendent. I will definitely be meeting with her to definitely see how we can sort of move forward with that progress. But that is definitely something that's important to me. I understand we have a long agenda, but I definitely want to take the time to make sure that I get everything that I sort of wrote down respectfully. As a school board member, I would hope that that is okay. I want to also make clear that I just want to make clear, us on the school board, we're not here to rubber stamp stuff. We're here to definitely do what is in the best interest of the families, students, and staff. So I want to make sure that moving forward, we're sort of able to sort of direct it towards that. I don't want it to sort of be like, oh, we're rubber stamping stuff on one side. So I definitely want to make that clear. I know it's been brought by a couple of board members on the board that it seems as if everyone wants the same thing. So why can't everyone get together? When you have a board of 9 members, when you have a district of over 2,000 staff or unions you have to deal with, that's not the case. If it was that easy, we know Congress would get along and the United States would be 10 times in a better sort of direction that we're currently in. So it's not that easy. So I want to just make that very clear. This work is definitely transparent to me that I want to definitely bring forth. I would also suggest, I know Mr. Mahingable is having a press conference on Friday, I believe, about school closures. You on the board are colleagues of Mr. Mahingabo. I think you should definitely support Mr. Mahingabo on that conference, press conference. If any of you have a concern or anything, you can definitely speak to him. If anyone has a concern with Mr. Stevens, if anyone has a concern with anything that I said, you have the floor. You can definitely bring it up, or you can call me personally as well. But like I said before, I want to thank all of the teachers, family members, students, staff, board members, superintendent, administrators for an amazing year this year. And I would say that concludes Mr. Stevens' comments.
Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Any final comments from other school board members? Dr. Santel, go ahead.
I actually just have a question to ask. It's a question I'll pose in executive session, but I think it's important to pose it in open session as well. And I guess it's aimed at the superintendent or Charlie. Is there a reason why the extension to the collective bargaining agreement has not been made public? And when will it be made public? I don't know which one.
In terms of the actual agreement itself has not been completely written out. You know, there's two steps in the process. There's a tentative agreement, which has been fully executed and signed. You know, that I'm intending to share with the board tonight during our presentation. I believe it has been publicly shared as of today, but I'll double check with you on that. And the final full-length contract. And the final full-length contract is still in the process of being drafted.
Thank you, Dr. Santel. Any final comments?
Yeah, really quickly.
Vice President Escobar.
Yeah, I just want to add in to thank you, Dr. Santel, for your service. I think our community asked leaders really not to be perfect, right? Like no one's perfect. But I think, you know, our community, for people that are in this position, elected, appointed, so have you, I think they ask us to be honest. I think they ask us to fight for everyone. I think they ask for us not to be selfish, to be independent, to make a decision based on, you know, data, make a decision based on your constituents, make the right decision, make the right call. And I believe you embody all of that in terms of what it means to be a true, great community leader in terms of your decision making. And I will appreciate that. I will miss you. You are a very smart and talented individual that is leaving our board that's going to be really tough to fill. And yeah, just for my experience with you on the board, I think we're always going to be tied together in terms of that takeover vote, which is pretty interesting. And you know, I don't have anyone to really joke about someone being a Jets fan. So I think that's, oh yeah, we got two. I forgot, George. I forgot. You're one. We got Aaron Rodgers now, but in terms of like the embodiment of a community leader, a school board member, you have all of that. I'm really sad to see you go. But just thank you for your service, who you are as a human being. You're a great person. And yeah.
Thank you, Vice President Escobar. Any final comments? Real quick, I'll keep it short. Dr. Santel is truly a gentleman's gentleman. I have with me a citation from the Providence City Council and Mayor Smiley to present to you to commemorate your 8 years of service. Happy to present that at the end. We can all take a group photo, but thank you again, Dr. Santel. Oh yeah, the superintendent has a citation too, and I think they made you a plaque, Dr. Santel, but it's in shipment because of the chip shortage. So. We'll get it to you ASAP. All right, not hearing any more school board member comments. Moving on to committee updates. Chairman Santel, Policy Committee.
Again, so the policy committee unfortunately didn't have the opportunity to meet a couple of weeks ago. We're waiting on a great big complex policy. So we booted the policy committee to next Wednesday, which actually technically will be my last night serving in this role to discuss hopefully the grading policy next Wednesday. But as you know, from the last school board meeting, we passed through two really big mission critical policies through the committee and then through first read on this board, which was the racial equity policy and the multi-tiered system of support, or MTSS policy. Tonight, those are on for second read. As I mentioned last time I saw all of you, if we take these policies seriously and use them to measure ourselves, and hold ourselves accountable, they offer the possibility of being transformative. I hope that's something that you all will carry on after I depart. I'll do what I can from the outside to do so. But so that's the policy committee update. Hopefully we'll vote on those two policies shortly and off we went. So thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Chairman of BM is not here. Mr. Stevens? All right. Ms. Aiken?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a very effective meeting. We reviewed 20 contracts that are all in line with the TAP goals and ongoing improvement efforts. We added an informational only review of an upcoming contract for our summer school program that will come before you this evening. In addition, we had 2 presentations made by our senior finance staff, which included a local budget versus actual report through May. We noted a slight variance in that presentation that we hope will get whittled down further as we close out the fiscal year at the end of June. We hope to have a finance meeting in July, but the date is yet to be scheduled at this current time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aiken. Chairman Mohingabo, Health and Wellness Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. So we had a meeting on May 24, and we had one presentation on project awareness grants and school-based mental health. The district shared the grant they received from the Sherlock Center, and the district were able to establish leadership team called Safe and Caring. The team is based in 16 elementary school and 7 middle school, 23 out of 40. And this is the district team is spread into teams of 2, one of psychologists and social worker, and they are assigned to school. And also they provide coaching and training to teacher assistants. And also continue to provide professional development and technical assistance to all schools throughout the district. We were supposed to have also, sorry, I forgot to say about this. The district also shared some of the grant that we received the past year. For example, the project awareness advancing awareness and the resiliency in education. We received that grant from 2018-2023. And also another grant on school-based mental health service grant, which we're gonna use from, we started using on 2020 and 2025. And another one from Bradley Hospital, it's called the Bradley Project Awareness Grant, where we're gonna hire a health professional learning coordinator, but the post is not currently, the position is not currently posted. And we're supposed to have a meeting in June, and because we didn't have a quorum, the meeting was canceled. I talked to Sandy and the president, according to the state, the health committee, we are supposed to have only 5 meetings. So I talked to Sodexo. They're gonna be scheduling a meeting with Ms. Akim and also Ms. Robert Santana, so they can do presentations with them. And also ask Sodexo to work with the president to have the end of the year presentation in our next school board meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Mohingabo. Next, Career and Technical Education Committee update. Chairman Escobar.
Yeah, so the update is we had our first meeting. And, that's great. That was a good accomplishment, just be able to work with Brett Dickens, get people together. Huge opportunity, I think, for the board, for the district in general, and for the committee to work is really going to be what are some of the low-hanging fruits that we can focus on during this time. For example, an idea that in my conversations with Brett Dickens, sort of talking about alumni association. We have all this great talent coming out of our schools. What if we create a pipeline so we bring them back in, help mentor some students, that are going through CTE programs. I think there's a demand that is growing for CTE. PCTA, parents wanting to get their students into these types of programs. How does the district sort of meet those needs? And our last strategic plan that we had in Providence was in 2016. So my goal with chairing the committee over the next year, 2 years, is to really get a new strategic plan. You know, we have a changing economy just with AI alone and how that's going to really shift. And we know we need to meet the demand of our families to get students into these type of programs, into these type of schools. So I'm hoping through this work we can create a new strategic plan that will help guide, really at that time, the district when it comes back to local control. So CTE is one of those bright spots that I think are in our district. So really excited with this work. Really excited to work with Brett Dickens, my fellow colleague, Jordan Took, and just excited for the opportunity to bless the Thank you.
Thank you, Vice President Escobar. Moving on, we have our second reading and passage of the equity policy in the multi-tiered systems of support policy. Do I have a motion to pass item 7.1 and 7.2?
Motion. Second.
There's a motion, there's a second. Any discussion? Mr. Solicitor, remind me for a second passage, do we need is roll call fine or a voice vote fine?
Voice vote's okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Congratulations, Dr. Santel. Item 7.1 and item 7.2 passed. Next, we have report on contracts. Do I have a motion to take items 8.1 through? Oh, I think I had a couple. I thought I had a couple.
Did you cover them? Okay, all right, that's fine.
Next, report on contracts. Do I have a motion to pass items 8.1 through items 8.18?
Motion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion on items 8.1 through items 8.18? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next, we had pulled out item 8.19, facilities contract. Now, this is one of our biggest contracts in the district, and I thought it was worthy to pull out for discussion by the school board in case there were any final questions. I remind you that a thorough vetting has already occurred of this contract at the committee level. Our goal here is not to relitigate or have another full presentation on the contract. It's generally to get that up to speed. And so is there anybody from the district here to give us a very high-level overview of what we're voting on here tonight?
Mr. President, just a quick procedural thing. I think we just voted on up through 8.18, but that actually leaves 8.20 and 8.21.
Mr. Santel, you're
Come
correct.
back around to them.
Let's come back around to it. Let's stick on 8.19, but thank you for flagging, Dr. Santel. So 8.19 is somebody here from the district to give us a high-level overview of what the board is voting on here tonight. Welcome, you can begin when you're ready.
Thank you, President Rogel. So my name is Zach Scott, Deputy Superintendent of Operations, and I'm joined by Sal Pellerano, Chief Operating Officer, and Molly Hannon, our Director of Procurement. So before we have with you tonight, we discussed with the Finance Committee a contract for the Integrated Facilities Management Plan for the district. Had a lot of good questions from the board during the Finance Committee, so looking forward to any additional questions that the full board has. So I'll give a brief overview and then we can spend as much time as we want on any of the details of the contract. But, for as highlighted in the Johns Hopkins report, the district has suffered from low expectations for what we expect for our students, what we expect from adults, but also what we expect from our facilities. There's a lot of work that needs to go to changing that, and one of the efforts we need to do is rebidding a contract that's been in place for the past 9 years on the maintenance of our school buildings. So we've been working on this bid release for a long time with 3 goals. The first is raising those expectations for the standards of cleanliness that we expect in our schools, moving from the industry standard APA 3, which is the term for APA 3 is moderate or casual inattention, and moving into APA level 2, district-wide, which is a big change in terms of what we expect in terms of level of cleanliness of our buildings. Second is to move to a contract that is in line with best practices. So again, this contract has been in place for quite some time. The industry has evolved, and we are looking to have a contract that is performance-based and streamlines the services that are provided under that contract. So we currently have some services provided by the facilities management organization, others which are managed by district staff, and for a number of reasons we're happy to share, we're looking to have those more integrated in one body of oversight. And then lastly, doing all the above in a cost-effective way that is sustainable for the district. So to do that, we went through a extensive process to ensure we could create a contract that was in line with those standards that we were looking for. So we spent time through the spring and the fall drafting a RFP that was released in April. We had a number of bidders attend our pre-bid conference. 9, I believe, ultimately attended. And then we had 3 very competitive bids from various vendors who provide services in the space. We had presentations with those vendors, learned, reviewed their bids, had a best and final offer from those from each of those vendors, which then allowed us to review those bids that were submitted. So we had a cross-sectional group that reviewed those bids from representatives from PPSD, from RIDE, from the City of Providence's Public Property Department, as well as a parent member of the school building committee. Through that process, we were then looking to award, and we were excited that we were able to identify a bidder that was both highest qualified as well as lowest cost. And so the award we have in front of you today is for ABM Industries. The contract value is in the bid award, but it is $72 million over a 35-month term. So that would begin August 1 of this year and go through July 1st of the 35 months from there. I would add they were kind of most importantly not only the highest qualified, but over the 7-year term of that contract. And I'll tell more about how the contract's structured. They were cheapest or least expensive by over $7 million. So there's an initial term that lasts for 35 months and then 2 option years. The benefit of having those two-year options is you can lock in pricing for a long period of time. Based on how we set up the contract, there are no escalators, so we would have that pricing locked in and predictable for those years. So that's why we look at that 7 years as an important part of the bid price, because it is, if the vendor performs well over those first 35 months, we would anticipate renewing that contract. Over that 35-month term, they are also the less expensive. They were a little bit closer with other vendors, but what really set them apart was both their qualifications and their cost of service over the 7 years of the contract. So happy to answer questions that folks have about the process, about the award. But yeah, please.
Thank you, Mr. Scott. Any questions from school board members regarding the item at hand? I have a couple of questions.
Please.
So the current contract is slated to end in November with the current vendor. This one is scheduled to start in August. There's some overlap there. What happens during that time of overlap?
Sure. So let me start by sharing why it's important for us to start this contract in August. As you can imagine, the start of school is an incredibly hectic time for across the district in general, but particularly around getting our schools and facilities ready to do things like the transition of a facilities contract when you are hiring staff, inventorying equipment, cleaning. Hard to do that when you are right in the middle of the school year. And frankly, I think part of the reason why this, having a November end date has made it incredibly difficult to think through that transition. But that's why we landed on this August 1 date. So, I think we understand that we won't have 2 contractors working at the same time. So we engage with the current vendor, letting them know that we would be awarding this contract August 1, and that we would need to negotiate what the impact is to them, knowing that their current contract extends through November. So the new vendor, practically what would happen is the new vendor would start August 1. We would work with the current vendor, Aramark, to discuss what that transition looks like between now and August 1, and then any impact that they would incur between August 1 and the expiration on November 12th.
I think that's the biggest concern. I don't usually do this, but I safely speak for the board that schools being ready on day 1 is our number 1 concern. It's one thing to switch contractors. However, I think it would make all of us feel comfortable if we were presented with some sort of transition plan on what that would look like What we would hate to happen is the keys get dropped on their laps and then we're all scrambling day one, first day of school, because, you know, you have to knock the boiler 3 times with your foot before it turns on, and no one told the next person how to do that. Like, you know, little quirky things like that in our district that have accumulated over the years. I just want to make sure that, you know, whatever happens on day one is done correctly, regardless of who the actor is.
We can absolutely present that to you. What I would say too is ABM is, this is not the first time they've had to participate in a transition of contract. So they, as we've already started meeting with them, you know, I think they've already been asking the questions and have been planning for that. That doesn't mean, like you said, every district is unique. You might not know that the boiler switch in this building is right. So we got to make sure that we have everything in place, but we are committed to doing that. And we can come back to the board with a plan for what that transition looks like in the coming month.
Other questions from school board members? Thank you, Mr. Scott. Ms. Aiken, this item came out of Finance Committee. Is there a recommendation from the Finance Committee?
The recommendation was to approve the contracts. The chairman did have some similar questions related to the overlap that has just been, informed. And we felt very comfortable with approving it. We're very pleased with the efforts with improving the maintenance of our school campuses and the safety components, and the exhibits presented to us seem very comprehensive.
Ms. Aiken's recommendation is to move passage. Is there a motion? Motion is made. Is there a second? Any further discussion?
I just have one thing I want to say. Discussion.
Dr. Santop?
You all know I've been on the board for a long time. The idea of having performance-based contracts is something that members of this board have been pushing for many years. My longtime colleague Nina Pandey, who was the chair of the Finance Committee for many years, was someone who was always trying to push the district in this direction. So I just want to tell you, I appreciate the work you put in on this. You know, I've said it a couple of times to various people that a good process generally creates good outcomes. You know, if you have a good RFP, a good performance-based contract set up, and the Finance Committee, I know and trust does its job. There's no good reason for us not to pass this contract through and hopefully have cleaner schools for our kids and for our teachers going forward.
Thank you, Dr. Santom. Any further discussion? We have a motion made. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Next item on our agenda, items 8.20 and 8.21. Is there a motion to approve both? Motion made. Is there a second? Motion's been made. It's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Both items pass. Next item on our agenda, presentations. Senior hire updates. Superintendent Montanez.
So today I would like to present 2 individuals. We have Karina. Please come up. Take a quick second. I have, at our last meeting, we introduced 2 individuals. So Ms. Karina will be in charge of the face department. Karina can introduce herself quickly. Thank you.
Is this also going to lead into our presentation?
I believe that makes most sense. So maybe the Chief Communications Officer can come up as well. We'll get the introductions out of the way. So just a reminder to folks on the board that this item on our agenda is a result of the Senator Zerio bill that passed, which this is not advice and consent. So we're not approving or disapproving the hiring of senior level hires. What we're doing instead is providing a forum for the community to get to know these senior level hires, for them to share some of their objectives on their goals for the upcoming school year, and for us to provide feedback. So this is really an opportunity for the community to get to know these senior level hires. As the superintendent and I had shared at the last meeting, we have interpreted senior level hires to mean chief level and up in his direct reports. So we are going to move with that practice moving forward. May need tweaks moving down the line, but for now we'll stick to that. So welcome, Ms. Pinto. And is Suzanne also here? It's all right. So let's do Ms. Pinto. When Suzanne gets here, we'll get to meet her as well. So share with us a little bit about your background. Your work history, what your goals are for this upcoming school year, what you hope to accomplish, and then we can move into your presentation.
Perfect, thank you. Good evening, school board president, superintendent, and school board members, and ladies and gentlemen in the audience. My name is Karina Pinto. I am the new chief of family and community engagement. A little bit about my background. I know it was shared in the last school board meeting. I am a former Providence Public School graduate, Mount Pleasant High School, multilingual learner, immigrant child from Guatemala, and I have been serving Providence Public Schools for the past 23 years in the capacity of teacher, teacher leader, dean of students, assistant principal, supervisor and manager at the multilingual learner department, and now most recently with the appointment of chief of family and community engagement. So it is really an honor to continue to serve our students, families, and community in this capacity. And this is a challenge. This is a challenge to step in a direction that is new to me, and I feel it will bring an opportunity to bring my experience and enhance really the experience of our students, families, and community, to highlight the efforts and align the efforts and resources to continue to serve from Providence Public Schools.
Hi, I'm Suzanne Millette. I've been with the district for 3 years, and I'm excited to be in the capacity of chief that I've been in for a little while now. I come from the Boston area. I worked in the nonprofit and education sector in Greater Boston in marketing communications for about 10 years. And before that, I was in the newspaper industry as a staff photographer at newspapers in Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and Connecticut for 10 years. I'm excited to tell the stories of our students. We have amazing students and amazing staff here in Providence, and I work with a really bright, smart team. I'm excited to work alongside them and people like Karina and tell the story and help support you in the work that you do as well. So I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you both. Yes, we'll open the floor up for comments and questions from school board members. Vice President Escobar.
So on communications, I know we're gonna have a presentation on family engagement. I believe our students know way more about marketing and communications than I think a lot of adults right now, just because, social media, TikTok, everything's moving so fast. I have the pleasure of teaching once a week at Blackstone Academy, like a nonprofit, and like students are making like viral TikToks, right? Like, I would love to see some sort of opportunity for our students to help with the communication and the marketing of our district. I think if we allow our students to tell their stories, I think that would be powerful. I think we get great content. They know how to edit video. They know what they're doing when it comes to a lot of this. So that is something that I would heavily encourage, even if it's a marketing sort of advisory group, maybe high school students you start off, and have them pitch, like, how would you share stories? What's going on great in school? I think you would get a good return on investment with that. So I just wanted to share that as you're in your own.
Yeah, I love that. And we're working with Brett to get an intern in for this coming year. And we had one from Hope the year before. So we'd love to get more, especially the video work, some TikTok videos and stuff like that. It'd be a lot of fun.
Any questions or comments? Let's stick with Chief of Communications, Susanna Lett, because Ms. Pinto is actually going to do a presentation today, and she'll probably share a lot about her upcoming plans for her department. So any questions for Chief of Communications, Susanna Lett?
I have a question.
Mrs. Stevens?
I'm sorry. Susanna, can you tell me a little bit more about your background and where you come from? I know there was communication, really quiet. There was communication that went out with the school closures that I wasn't pleased about. So I just want to know more about like your background, your style of communication, just to make sure we don't go down the route we went last time when the schools closed, because I wasn't too happy with the tone in that sort of communication. So can you just tell me a little bit?
About my background or about the approach?
Mix of both.
Okay. So for 5 years, I was director of marketing and public relations for Catholic Charities of Boston. Then I was with the Catholic Schools in Boston as director of communications. And I was also with a program on the North Shore of Boston called For Kids Only After School as the director of communications, where we worked with the cities of like Chelsea, Winthrop, Revere, incorporating after school programs within the schools. So we worked, our competition was the YMCA. We pitched to boards to get ourselves into school districts. And yeah, we did a pretty good job. As far as communication style, I really like to let the leaders and the people that I work with tell the story. I don't believe it's my story to tell. I believe it's the story of the teachers, it's the story of the students, it's the story of the teams that we work with. So personally, a lot of times we have the spokesperson be the speaker, but I think the best person to speak for the district is the superintendent, is the teachers, is the principals, is the students themselves. And I just believe in, I'd say, transparency and telling the story as best I can with the support of the team. So when we're working on drafts of whatever goes out, it's not just my eyes, it's eyes throughout that are working on it and helping us with the language to make sure that we're telling it correctly and being as forthcoming as we can. But I think my main goal is to spread the good news of our students and just flood that out there. We covered all 9 graduations last week, and we've covered just about every stepping up ceremony, me and my team. And we're trying to get out there and tell their stories. Throughout the past few months, we've been telling the stories of all of the seniors. Each of the principals have been giving us seniors that they recommend that we profile, and myself and the team have been going to photograph them, interview them, and tell their stories because they have extraordinary stories to tell. So I don't know if that answers,
Yes,
tells
it
a little bit
does.
about my style.
Any further comments, questions, school board members? Mr. Matuk?
Thank you. Just to build a little bit on that question, I think we as a board, have a lot we're concerned that in the past the community has not received information, in the most timely and direct way. And I think we also acknowledge that there are multiple parties involved, primarily, RIDE and PPSD. So I guess my question is, is your role specifically geared towards marketing communication about what's happening at PPSD, or are there mechanisms where there's coordination between RIDE and PPSD from a communication point of view to make sure that that the entire community is informed of everything that they would want to be informed of from a like a programmatic point of view, not just like from a branding point of view for the school system? Does that make sense?
It does, and I think it depends on the topic that you're talking about. So we work very closely with RIDE, and we work very closely with the city and with the governor's office. When we have events like we did today at Hope High School, because there are so many parties involved, we have to get quotes from everybody, we have to get quotes approved, we draft everything. So there's a lot of layers for that sort of a thing. But on the school level, when you're drilled down, it's pretty much myself and my team that are overseeing that. And people within Providence Public Schools. So it kind of depends on the layer of involvement as far as how many people are involved in what goes out.
Okay, I think that makes sense. And I guess I'm not sure if this is a question you can answer or not, but if, in a case, let's just say about the decision to close a school or not, in the future, is it the decision of the PPSD communication office what to communicate, or is it the decision of the RIDE communication office, what to communicate to the public?
I think it's a collaborative decision, to be honest with you. I think we work together. And I think that, usually as far as writing goes, I draft it all, or someone from my team drafts it. And then we present it to the superintendent, and we present it to the commissioner, and we present it to everybody to make sure that everyone has eyes on it before it goes out. So that's why sometimes things go a little bit slower, but it's also kind of nice to have that checks and balances to make sure that we are being accurate and transparent and truthful so that we're not sending out any information that is not right. Even when we're looking at social media posts, sometimes we're making errors and trying to fix them right away, but we try to make sure everything has 2 eyes on it before it goes out to make sure that we avoid those errors both internally for Providence Public Schools as well as when we go in a bigger audience.
That makes a lot of sense. I think, that's right. I don't think that speed is of communication is a goal at the expense of accuracy, transparency, etc. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matuk. Any final question from Mr. Lett?
Me, one last
Mr.
thing.
Stevens, you have the floor.
Well, I have just a question. That we had a bunch of parents, myself, there was board members at the time that came in, that was here, They said they didn't like the way the communication went out about the school closures. What would you have done? I don't want to put you on the hot seat. You can definitely not respond if you feel as if it's on the hot seat, but what you would have done differently to make sure that families felt a bit more sort of represented and sort of like the communication way. What you would have done different if you had to sort of communicate the closures of schools?
I'm not really sure. I think in that situation, I was the deputy director at that time, and I don't think that my supervisor did anything wrong. I think that he had a plan, and things went out before the plan was able to be executed. So I don't think that there was no intention of ill will, of transparency. So what would I have done different? I think I would have involved everybody here and made sure that everything went out clearly with everyone here. I think our responsibility is to families first. But I think as a team, we have to work together to make sure that the message that we're sending to those families is something that we all agree on and are on board with before sending it out to families. So, and working with the union and working with school board and working with leadership and working with schools and school leadership, there's a lot of moving parts in a district of this size.
Thank you, Mrs. Stevens. I think I said Ms. Solette, from my perspective, I've noticed like on social media, we've been doing a way better job at telling the positive stories, the magic that's happening in the buildings. I feel like out there's a narrative about PPSD schools, about them being amok and chaos and anarchy. But having been a student, educator, central level administrator, I know that's not true. I know that in a lot of our schools, kids, educators, and administrators are doing a lot of amazing things. And you are doing a good job, at least from what I've seen, telling those stories. So it's noted, and also the photography level is a whole lot better. I've noticed that too. The pixel game is up. So I appreciate that. I think that's it, Ms. Olette. We're gonna move on to Ms. Pinto. Ms. Pinto, you're also presenting. So today we will do a quarterly TAP update. Instead of sitting here through a 45-minute presentation like last time, there are 4 quarterly TAP updates. And for now, this is what I wanna try. Why don't we use each quarterly TAP update to focus on one pillar so we can really dig into that one pillar. And again, this is a work in progress. If that doesn't work, we'll adjust. But for today, I thought that was an appropriate thing, especially because Ms. Pinto was coming before the board to introduce herself anyway. So Ms. Pinto, the floor is yours. Also, Tiara, if there's a PowerPoint, we can't see it on this side. Yeah.
That was gonna be my question, so. If you can-
So you guys can download the PowerPoint directly from the agenda, right? Section 9.2.
Yeah, I have a.
You don't want to fix it.
Do you have it pulled up?
I do, yeah.
So you guys have, is it just me?
All right, you can get started if it's just me. I'll look at Travis's laptop. The floor is yours.
Okay, so good evening again. It's an honor for us to stand before you today and present our Engaged Communities Progress Update. I want to introduce
Janet
Pichardo,
Interim Executive Director of Family Engagement.
And I'm Delia Rodríguez Juan, Interim Executive Director of Community Engagement.
Buenas tardes otra vez. So we're going to be presenting our Engaged Communities Progress Update. Just to highlight, oh, now you can see it. Perfect, great, gracias. These are just the areas that the Office of Family and Community Engagement supervises. So community partnerships, district volunteers, and as you can see, we're gonna go to the agenda. We don't wanna make this a long presentation. The agenda, we're gonna be talking about the newly created engagement spaces, a little bit about survey works, customer service, and then we're gonna close out with survey works data. in alignment to the question about my vision and what we bring to the table as the new Chief of Family and Community Engagement, I wanted to open it up with what happened in the last 30 days. So we want to celebrate the newly created spaces for our families, communities, and students to come together and have a voice and be the driving force behind the decision. So I want to start by talking about our end of year reflection. We created a space by grade level STEM, meaning elementary, middle school, and high schools, where we brought our school principals, PPSD leaders, and superintendent to have a conversation with our parents and community members about the challenges, the successes, but also to ensure that their voice is reflected in the reopening plans of next school year. So this is something that we accomplished in the last 30 days. It's something new. We received great feedback, and we hope to continue to bring those spaces, not just once a year, but maybe 2 or 3 times a year. With that, I want to move on to engaging our community, our parents and students in the updating of the attendance policy. So we created a survey, and we provided multiple spaces for all of these representatives to give us feedback as we update the student attendance policy, which we know is no longer representative of their current needs. We wanted to make sure that they had input and they had multiple opportunities to do so. That is still in practice. Next to that, we are working very closely with the Office of Student Support. So this is something new. We are working in collaboration with everything that comes from the Office of Student Support. Presently, right now, our focus in the last 30 days was the student attendance, was FAFSA completion for our graduating seniors, and also summer programs. So we held our first community leaders gathering at the United Way, and this was intentional. We wanted the community to see that we are not just welcoming them in our space, but we are coming out to them. We invited a cohort, approximately 80 community leaders. This was the first time. And we had 40 community leaders in attendance who gave us great feedback and said that they wanted to continue to do that. So our goal is to continue to do that to at least every other month in different community spaces. And the focus was, again, currently attendance to make sure that we end the year strong, FAFSA, and also summer learning programs. In addition to that, we make sure that we came present and that we were present in other community spaces. So we were present 3 times via radio communication to make sure that we are connecting with our community. We did some pre-recorded programs, 2 pre-recorded and 1 live program, where people had an opportunity to connect and answer questions. And we received a high influx of calls at the FACE office after those programs. So we know that's working. Next, I want to move into our celebrating progress, and in alignment with our turnaround action plan, we are going to actually skip that slide. No,
The other way.
The other way. There you go. Because I have a better visual there. There you go. So your survey works, as most of you know. It's a yearly survey where parents have an opportunity to give us feedback about our schools and the opportunities we are providing for our children to learn. One of our goals was to increase the percentage of PPSD families responding to survey work. So I want to highlight that we went from 27% to 39%. So that 13% came it reflects the efforts at the school level and at the FACE office. It was not just families coming to the schools or sending the survey electronically where they could fill it out. It was us going to their spaces, laundry moms, supermarkets, bus stops, community events. This is what really supported the 13% increase that we saw this year. So that's a huge accomplishment. Next, I want to highlight another one of our turnaround goals. Increase the percentage of families with a favorable perception of being involved with the child's schools. So this is also a huge accomplishment. We went from 21% last year to 30% this year. Not only did we grow 9%, but I also want to say PPSD is leading 5% average above a state level. So we are 5% higher than the state on this metric. Another one of our goals is to increase the percentage of families who believe that they are welcome in their child's school. So this is also a growth. We went from 79% to 81%, but what is most significant is that not only did we meet our top target for this year, but we also exceeded it. We're actually above next year's target, because next year's target was 80% and we exceeded it. This is not from survey words, but this is also our communication and customer service. This is also one of our metrics to offer high-quality customer service across the district. So we adopted a new platform. It's called the Rapid Response System, known as Let's Talk. This is an opportunity where anyone, all stakeholders can connect with PPSD via phone, text, email, mobile, and website, and the website. And what we are measuring right now, we are focusing on increasing the number of, the percentage of cases in which communication is initiated and they receive a response within 24 hours. So we saw growth from 70% to 79%. This is being implemented slowly in the different departments, but the goal is that Let's Talk is present in every department at PPSD. This also comes with a combination of professional development. I'm gonna pass it on to Marcia.
Yes. So just to continue with the different initiatives that we are also overseeing that are part of the TAP, the turnaround plan, is the Parent University. The Parent University, again, is an initiative that we've had in place. However, we've enhanced it to call it the university. It was prior called the academy. And so the university right now, we are offering it during the fall, during the spring. And again, this is all through Zoom. We have found that in the past 3-4 years, we've been offering the Parent University via Zoom, which has been significantly an increase. We've seen an increase in participation by families. As you can see here, 28 sessions in the past school year, so in the fall and the spring, with a participation of 1,234 participants attending these Zoom meetings. And then specifically highlighting 3 of the main, or the most popular, let's say, preparing for RICAS, but also school meals and student engagement. And this was more in a collaboration with Sodexo, just trying to make sure that we are engaging families and finding out, actually gathering some input with regard to menus and selection of food, and just making sure that students are also being surveyed. And so this was very a high turnout. And also the summer recreation, which we had about 85. That was a collaboration also with the recreation department at the city. At the city, again, just the Parent University is here so that we are able to collaborate with outside agencies, but also internal departments. Specifically, for next year, we are looking to enhance our university partnering with CCRI to be able to offer our families certification programs, and you see a list there: certified nursing assistant, medical assistant, medication tech, and software data analytics. And this is all obviously to be offered to our families for free, but we will be monitoring this recruitment of our families attending these certification programs. Then we have the initiative of the Parent Ambassador. And the Parent Ambassador right now, again, is a group of parents who are representing 31 of our schools. These are parents that have committed to at least visiting and supporting our schools, minimum up to 5 to 10 hours, receiving a stipend for their commitment and their time. And also we have the Parent Advisory Council. So we had a few representation of our Advisory Council members here today, very honored to serve and work with these very dedicated families. We have over 44 active members who attend monthly meetings, but also specifically our leadership, again, who were recognized today. We thank the board and also their time and dedication. Yes. Next is housing, also housing insecure families and direct finding volunteers, district volunteers. One of our initiatives, again, is to continue to support our McKinney-Vento families and families who are housing insecure. We have supported and identified 300 students. I know it says, actually it's the number of students that have been identified this year. Again, we're supporting our families, just making sure that we're providing professional development to our staff to assist us in identifying families. We can't do it ourselves, and so we have to collaborate with our social workers, nurses, and what have you, but also our community agencies. And you see there a list of the ways in which we support our families and partnering with Crossroads and other agencies in the city. And then again, just highlighting that we've been able to process and encourage 373 volunteers. They are a combination of parents, grandparents, but also some community members.
The engaged community is also an important component of the TAP initiative, and we do this in several different ways. One was the creation of the District-wide Advisory Council, which is a membership group of individuals that represent different stakeholders from the community, from community organization, ethnic groups, academia, parents, and students meet on a monthly basis. They meet with the superintendent and the leadership team to talk about the different issues that are important to parents and students and what they hear in the community. They're the eyes and ears from the community, which is an important component for us. And also advise on TAP initiatives and the work that we're doing. The community leaders, which Karina already mentioned, was a great success, and they're looking forward to perhaps become part of the DWAC Advisory Council or to continue meeting in these different settings in the community, bring their expertise, their talent, and their connections to the community, and work with us on those at that level. And the Student Advisory Council meets, has about 20 students. We meet on a monthly basis and we work on student development to encourage them to be a voice for their communities. They also participate with the equity, belonging, respect training for students under the Dr. Onier. So we get a lot of great response, and when they bring a topic, we work with them on potential solutions, bring experts to do presentations with them, so the superintendent can work with the students on the best steps to follow up on issues that they find important for their schools. So in order to support schools, just a few highlights you can see. Yeah, they're there. What we do as FACE with the schools and in the community, we do a lot of things, and sometimes there are things that are like not seen, and we're there to do it, but some highlights of the stuff that we do, for example, coordinating, interpreting, and translating whenever there's community meetings, making sure that we have the interpreters there to be on Zoom or in person. We attend and support any kind of family or parent engagement. Whenever there's a need to support the attendance campaign or FAFSA campaign, the FACE team is ready to support.
I already briefly mentioned our customer service efforts. Also want to say we are in the process of digitizing student records. So we're looking forward to that. This will optimize our ability to respond in a timely manner to the requests. We are currently FACE offices processing about 200 requests per month, and we're looking forward to the digitized version of these records. I also want to highlight what FACE office does in terms of like engagement and events coordination in collaboration with the communications department and other departments. I want to highlight, there's a list of the couple of things that we worked on all year round. I want to highlight our most recent collaboration, which was this graduation. I want to congratulate our students and families on such a great accomplishment. And then I also want to invite everyone to keep in mind the August 26th, this is Back to School celebration. So this is also an event that we do in collaboration with Back to School. We are going to be providing our families with backpacks and school supplies and connecting them with community resources as well. So I invite everyone, if you're available, to join us on the 26th. To almost close out, I want to highlight some of the opportunities that we will have, all of us present in this room. How can we collectively support students or participate in the different works? I know many of you vested school members who are here showing your commitment. We also have our PAC leaders who spoke and who were also recognized. So these are some of the spaces where people like step up to support our students, communities, and families. Right now, they're focusing on attendance, improving our attendance and decreasing our chronic absenteeism rate, and promoting our before and after school programs, and of course, our summer learning program. To close out, I actually wanted to quote Melissa, if she's still here, who said, she's still here? Melissa, thank you. Who said that it is important that family voice is central to every decision. So I just wanted to close with this quote, also from a parent. I just wanted to say thanks. Your office still continues to have desired effect, and friendly staff does equal excellent and memorable customer service and experience. Gracias. So this is a screenshot of our recent end-of-year reflection with elementary schools. With that, that's the conclusion of our presentation. There's an appendix with additional data if people want to review on them.
Thank you, FACE team. Questions, comments from school board members?
question.
Mr. Mateo?
This is amazing work and, engagement is so critical to success of the system and success for the children. So this is great. I did notice in the appendix that there are some metrics that are moving, in a disfavorable direction. And so I just wanted to ask about your thoughts about that. I'm looking particularly at increasing the percentage of PPSD families with a favorable perception of the district. And that's actually slipped over the course of the pandemic. And most of the metrics seem to have maybe suffered a little bit in the during the pandemic and have recovered as children and families were more engaged. But what do you make of that?
So I think we have brought, like I said, we brought the different spaces now, and we also are working very hard on improving the customer service experience of our families, which I think will have a direct impact in this specific metric, because the customer service is not just from FACE or from PPSD office, but we want that to trickle down to every school. So as of right now, we are meeting with certain departments to make sure that this is translated to every school and eventually should be present everywhere. That should be the experience that our families are experiencing in every space at PPSD. I think we have gotten creative. We saw an increase of the percentage of families that participated in our survey by doing things differently. So that supports that we need to revisit what we have been doing and start to bring in different strategies.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, the participation is there, and then if you're learning where there's areas for improvement, you can address that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Dr. Santel, and then Ms. Aiken.
So I have 3 questions. Maybe I'll just ask one and then we can go, because they're not related to one another. So one of them actually, I think, builds a little bit on George's question. And I'm looking at the slide number, I think it's on page 7. Family involvement in school, percentage of families with a favorable perception of being involved with their child's school, 9% growth this year, which of course is good news. The question I have is, when we have good news, we want to celebrate good news, but we also want to understand what we did to create the good news so that we can continue it and build upon it. So I'm wondering, to what do you attribute that growth? One factor or several factors, things that we did to get that positive result so that we can continue.
Yeah, I can attribute it to one factor. I think it's a multitude of factors,
Sure.
but I do know that our schools are working very hard. I think this is a reflection of the specific effort that's being put in the schools. I want to highlight that we went from 73 volunteers 2 years ago to 375 volunteers now. So there is a presence in 31 schools of parents that do support the schools in 10 hours a week, I think is the expectation. They receive a stipend. They are a voice, and from the FACE office, what I'm seeing is that not only they are a voice, they are part of the meetings, they are part of the decision making. So they are being that liaison between school, families, and community. But I do want to recognize and highlight the hard work of our school administrators and leaders.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I wonder, one kind of follow-up question, and then there's a connected one that I promise I'll deal with. I think as a PPSD parent myself, I think of the various ways I can be involved, with my son's school. One, of course, is volunteering, and I'll have a question about that in a second. But another, of course, is just simply being involved in my own child's education. So I know, one of the things I've seen in my time on the board is that parent-teacher conferences sort of come and go, but that's a very key part, I think, of keeping parents involved, and others making sure we have an active PTO at every school, if we do. So, I'm wondering if there's any kind of low-hanging fruit, or what's the sort of next thing you want to kind of use to push this number upward and get families feeling.
So one thing that we did, and it's like a big lift, is the collaboration with the Student Support Office. We are very close. We're sort of like one department. So that's one. Another thing that we're planning on doing this month is we're trying to revisit the school improvement teams to make sure that we are involved and that we also are supporting in collaboration with that.
And then this is me wearing I guess I don't wear a policy committee hat anymore, but if I were still wearing it for another week, we passed a new revised volunteer, this is not new anymore, but volunteer policy in 83 pre-pandemic. Do you, has it been your experience that the volunteer policy itself is a help or a hindrance to getting parents involved in schools? And I ask that question because if you do think the volunteer policy maybe doesn't work for how parents want to be involved these days, come to the school board and to the policy committee and seek revisions that help. They, us, would be happy to engage that.
Thank you, and trust me, we will come if we find that there's a hindrance.
I'm done.
Yes, I echo that this is excellent, endeavors here and all the improvements. In terms of the goal of increasing the percentage of students feeling a sense of belonging at their school and tying that into increasing the attendance levels. Can you give us some example of those initiatives of how you would, achieve more higher attendance rates with the students?
Absolutely. I do believe that student attendance is not something that we can look at lightly. We know that there are multiple factors affecting student attendance, and I think number one factor is the school culture. So we are open to collaborate. We understand that our job and our collaboration overlaps with every department in the district, and the fact that we have parent specialists that have a caseload of schools, so they are present and they support the schools in every parent-related event, meeting. So that is one contribution that we have directly from the FACE office. On top of that, we also supervise the volunteers, which is 373. We also supervise PAC, who are also the Parent Advisory Council, who are also in our schools. So us being present and open to collaboration, which seems like it's a lot, and it is a lot, because we are currently collaborating with multiple departments, but we don't want it to stop. With just being close with this Office of Student Support, we want that to transcend and collaborate with the rest of the departments so that it improves and it trickles down to improving attendance.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Aiken. Any other questions, school board members? Vice President Escobar?
And this could be maybe more of a question offline or a meeting offline, but one of the things that just comes out is like the housing insecure, like your support for that through this office. One, thank you for, you all for participating in this work, but to me, it just sort of feels out of place. I mean, one, supporting over 300 families, housing insecure, that's a huge problem for the district, it's a huge problem for our city. We shouldn't be worried about this many families that are housing insecure or homeless. So we know that, but I'd like to know like how much of a percentage of the office's time is on this issue for housing insecurity.
So I'm gonna shift it over to Janet because she is the one that leads and supervises that area.
So as some of you might be aware, so McKinney-Vento requires that there is a liaison for every district, right? So that's by law. So right now, the FACE office is who oversees the oversight, but also the reporting and identification of our families. And right now, in terms of time, I would say that, so it's not just myself, but the entire office is who's also trained to make sure that if we have families, but also school staff that are calling our office or sending us emails with regard to a family that they've identified, then it's all of us as a team, even though that there's one name that's on the list as a liaison. We can't do it alone. We are the largest district. And so I would say perhaps 25 to 30% of our time is kind of spent on working with our families, and not only our homeless families. We have a lot of families that are struggling that can also fall under just plain and simple the challenges of just living in Providence right now. So I would say also that aside from us, we are also responsible for making sure that we are training, other staff members in the district to just make sure that we are identifying enough of our students to be able to provide the supports. But that also comes with making sure that we're collaborating with outside agencies. So we are working with Crossroads. And Crossroads actually supports us with regard to case management. Case management has to be a one-on-one every single day, really, with our families, and we don't have the capacity 100% for that. So that's why we are constantly, reaching out to other agencies to support our work. That includes United Way, right? So they have the 211 and other supports that they also offer. So I just named them as one. And we're just happy to be able to continue to, collaborate with other agencies in the city.
Is there more support or resources that the district or city could do for these families, for these people? Is there any gaps? Like, it's just like, I know like there's a connecting aspect for Crossroads and other agencies. You've mentioned United Way, but is there anything like directly that we can do in this district? And more, I'm just brainstorming.
Sure. I'll tell you right now that families just want housing. And there's not enough, and that's not anything that any of us can work on. But I think that as long as families know who they need to call, that's the most important thing. And many times people are just embarrassed to share their struggle and share their reality. And I think that you can all tell them and obviously make them feel reassured that they can call our office. And we will sit down and go through a process of just finding out what are these needs, and we're going to connect with the resources we have.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Mr. Stevens and then Mr. Engelberg.
Ms. Pinto, what is your plan to improve parent and family sort of engagement? Is it engagement? Yeah, family and involvement. That's what I mean. What is your plan to sort of improve parental and family involvement? I know we have PAC, and I'm a big fan of PAC. But I know PAC, I believe, has a little bit less than 50 parents on there. We have over 20,000 students. So sort of even in that realm, how can we get more parents involved with PAC and overall with sort of their student experience? Do you have like a vision or plan as it pertains to involving them with their overall student experience?
So I think we already started that plan with creating like these new spaces that I referred to. So I think the most important thing is that if parents are not coming to us, they know that we're coming to them. Even the way that we're going to the community, we call for this community leaders gathering, but now we're also planning on attending their events, their churches, their celebrations, so that there is PPSD representation in every corner of the city of Providence.
So have you, with saying that, have we seen an increase in involvement as it pertains to sort of families in the district? Have we bridged kind of some of that gap with doing what you just said?
I believe so. That you also have to understand that family participation at FACE is not representative of like PPSD participation, because there is also a lot happening at the school level that we also might want to start capturing those metrics so that we're not solely reporting on the global like PPSD central office. So I believe so. I think that us coming out to them has been significant, just like the radio interaction and the influx of calls that we now get from families.
I have one question and one comment regarding student absenteeism. Is there any improvement this year compared to last year?
I don't have those numbers in front of me, so I'm not able to like speak to that in terms of like where we were last year and where we are now. That's something I can get back. I know what we did. What we did was like a call to action in the last month, because we wanted to make sure that people didn't think that school was over just because June is here and the summer is here. We wanted to make sure that the message is there, that every day counts. We presented data. We have been, making phone calls. We have been, like I said, connecting very closely with the Office of Student Support. So everything they do, we collaborate on. We do it together to make sure that we send a strong message of the importance of attendance.
Mr. President, I was wondering if the superintendent can send that data and information to the rest of the board.
We can look and see what the data looks like.
Yeah. And the next comment is, I just want to say congratulations. And I want to talk a little bit about the refugee community. I'm the chair of Health and Awareness Committee. I had Dorcas International and also soon the Refugee Dream Center. I'm working very hard to make sure they're involved in the Parents Advisory Council. And also you mentioned that the district provide transportation to help this family. I say this because a lot of refugee parents and immigrant parents really they don't have cars and wait for transportations. So I look forward to work with you and at the Dorcas and the Refugee Dream Center to make sure if there's any other section next year to help this family attend this meeting.
I want to add to that, we had a couple of representatives, community leaders that represented the refugee organizations at the community leaders gatherings that are now going to probably become part of our district-wide advisory council. They expressed interest in being part of our structured spaces. On top of that, we are also collaborating with the Department of Multilingual Learners, who received a grant for a refugee group. So there's a lot happening.
I can add, Omar Ba was at our gathering, community leaders meeting. So we talked a lot about involving in Aline from the Women's Refugee Center is part of our DWAC membership. So we're definitely very interested in working with the refugee community. We'd love to work with you also to identify any other communities that we should work with.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman. I have a couple of questions. I'll make it quick. So it sounds like from your presentation, we're on like year 2 or year 3, still on initiatives, and I get it, we lost a year due to COVID. So the way the top set up, there's initiatives for years 1 through 3, there's year 4 initiatives, year 5 initiatives. So I would like, is the plan still to proceed with the year 4, year 5 initiatives? So for example, there's like a redesign the student enrollment process to make it an accessible, supportive experience is an example of one. Another one is new focus framework for partnerships with community stakeholders. There's like year 4 and year 5 initiatives that are upcoming. And I guess my question is that still the game plan, or are we going to pivot? Is there going to be like an update to the top?
As far as I know, those are the goals that are still standing. If there is an adjustment I'm not aware of, we will communicate.
Yeah, because if, depending on the context, there may be some tweaking, some updating. Like on here, there's something about a student and family bill of rights. I don't know if that was ever developed or if that's upcoming, So just like a flag that, one of the things that we got criticized on the John Hopkins report was not having fidelity to a plan. The plan is here. We have the top update. So, according to this, let's count COVID year. Let's discount COVID year. We should be looking at year 3 of the initiatives. So like that's what we should be working on. If we're delayed, like that should be a communication to us.
Thank you.
Ms. Sakin, let's have the final question for these presenters, and then we'll move on next item on the agenda.
Yes. I'm just reviewing this in terms of the rapid response system showing a significant increase between this school year and next of over almost 20%. Can you describe what efforts will be undertaking to get that 97% baseline next school year?
So I mean, that's the goal, but I also think the most important goal is that this rapid response system is implemented in every school and in every space, more than tracking the percentage increase or the growth when the system is not everywhere. I think that's not like transparent data. So I think for me, the goal is that it is implemented and properly implemented in every space. Thank you.
Quick point.
Dr. Santel?
It's not a question, it's just a thought that kind of builds off something Travis said earlier. Is there an argument for disaggregating the work with students and families facing housing insecurity from the rest of what your part of PPSD does? Because they seem like I know they interact, and it's obvious the ways in which they interact, but if I understood the reasons for your question previously, you asked how much time is the office spending on that. Because it seems like the core mission of FACE in some ways is slightly different from that. So I don't know in terms of the organizational flow chart whether it makes sense to sort of disaggregate those things or not. I know they're together just for legacy reasons by and large. It's been that way for as long as I've been here. But I don't know whether it's something worth thinking about or not. Like, because there are other parts of PPSD where we're working more directly with families and students on social service related casework kinds of needs, which is otherwise not really the work that FACE does. So I'm aiming that point at perhaps to superintendent, but just wanted to.
Thank you, Dr. Santel. Thank you, FACE team. Congratulations again. Ms. Pinto, we're happy that you're here, and we look forward to the work that you will produce. Thank you.
Yo estoy feliz de estar aquí. I am very happy to be here. Thank you, everyone. Muchas gracias.
Thank you.
All right. Next item on the agenda is executive session. So item 10.1, executive session. Oh, no, we took it off. Executive session pursuant to Rhode Island General Laws, section 42-46-4 and 42-46-5A1, teacher termination action. Do I have a vote to enter into executive session? Do I have a motion to enter into executive session?
Earl, may I say one thing before we go into executive session?
Mr. Matuk, one final word.
I'm sorry, I should have said this during board commentary, but I want to make a shout out in a big way to the central office and the teachers union and RIDE and everybody who was involved in extending the teacher contract for a year and adding 30 minutes of school time to the school day. That's a huge win for the system and for the kids, especially. In the New York Times today, there was an article about how much learning loss there's been for 13-year-olds. And this is just an amazing thing, and I wanted to shout out to everybody who was involved. It's a great thing for the school system, so great job.
Thank you, Mr. Matuk. I echo your sentiments, and there were no Twitter casualties, so that was a good thing. All right, so we have a motion to enter executive session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think it's a roll call vote. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
George Matuk? Tony Aiken?
I mean, it's a roll call vote.
To go to executive session.
Who said aye?
Tony Aiken?
Aye.
Mark Santel?
Aye.
Earl Ambrosio? Travis Escobar? Tyrone Stevens? 19 Muhigabu.
We have entered executive session.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.